Hello everyone, and welcome back to another R video tutorial. And in this tutorial video, we're going to begin our discussion on R Markdown. And in this video, I want to just go through how you open an R Markdown session, talk about how R Markdown is different from an R script or R written in the console, and just sort of briefly describe some of the larger aspects of R Markdown. And again, this is a video series, so we're going to have more videos going into greater detail. But for now, if you want to do an R Markdown, you have to go up here to File, New File, and then you're going to see the third option down here. The third option down is an R Markdown. So if you click this, the first time that you do this, you're probably going to have to install some packages. Just click yes, it's okay. Eventually, though, you're going to get to this splash screen right here. And you're going to see that it has really a couple of options. The first is the title and the author. It's going to pull this from whatever defaults you have set. It doesn't really matter what you put here because you can always edit these in the R Markdown document. And then you're going to see that you have output formats, HTML, PDF, and Word. I would recommend, as they do, that you always start off in HTML format. And then you can, obviously, as it says, you can switch the format at any time. But HTML is a really good sort of starting output. So if you click OK here, you'll see that we have a new pane pop up here. And it has this RMD red circle here. And you'll first notice that this looks very different from the other ways that we've dealt with R in RStudio. You'll see that there's some gray sort of boxes. You'll see that there's things that look like they should be comments, but they're the wrong color. And the reason is that R Markdown does things a little bit differently than the other R document types that we've dealt with. And what R Markdown does and what makes it so useful is that it actually separates code from plain text. It lets you run bits of R code, what's called inline, and you'll see what that means in a minute. And then finally, up here, it allows you to do what's called knitting, which lets you save your R code, or save your R Markdown, I should say, to HTML documents, PDF documents, and Word documents, which are extremely useful for sharing your code as well as explanations of your code to other people. So what I want to do right now is I want to just take a second here to explain broadly the way that R Markdown works. And we're going to spend a lot more time talking about specific bits and pieces, specific mechanisms, specific syntaxes. But for now, what I want to do is I want to just talk quickly about how R Markdown sort of structures itself. So the biggest thing in R Markdown is this 3 backticks, curly braces, R, curly braces. We actually don't need cars here. We could delete that and it would work just fine. And then the 3 backticks here. You'll see that these 3 backticks and these 3 backticks appear to designate this gray box, and that's actually exactly what they're doing. This curly braces are curly braces is saying that inside of these 3 backticks and these 3 backticks, we are looking and recognizing R code. So what that means is that anything inside of this gray box or any of these gray boxes that have the R inside the curly braces, we can type in R code just like we have been before. Just like we have been in the console down here, just like we were in the R scripts in previous videos. We can type in var equals happy, and you'll see that it does the same sort of syntactic highlighting that we've seen before. What makes R Markdown nice is that if we type in print var. All right, you'll see that just like when we were dealing with the R scripts, right, we can write multiple lines of code at once and not have them be immediately executed. And you'll see that we can test equals lemon. Right, we can do the same thing with the control enter to run lines of code in the console. But what makes R Markdown so nice is that inside of this gray rectangle here, you'll see that there's this green play button and it says run current chunk. If we click this, you'll see that it went through and it ran all 3 lines of code. And you can tell that because one, it included the var variable over here in our environment tab, just like we're used to seeing. But you'll see that it also executed this print var command. Let me bring the console back up. You'll see that it actually executed this print var command, right? And you'll see that it output it in the console, but it also output it over here. And the fact that we can write things into the R Markdown is going to be extremely beneficial as we start to share our Markdown documents, because we can put in regular text outside of these gray rectangles. We can put our code inside of these gray rectangles. And then when we click the run button, you'll see that it actually executes them and then puts any outputs, right, from, for example, print var, right, it puts those outputs directly underneath. So with our Markdown, and I'm going to just show you quickly an example of knitting here in a second, you can see that we can combine regular text, our code, and console outputs directly in a single document. So this is extremely useful, again, for sharing documents. So what I want to do just really quickly to wrap up this video is just show you quickly what it looks like when we go to knit. And again, what knitting does is it takes all of this stuff that we have here and it puts it into a different format. So you can see that we have HTML, PDF, and Word. I'm going to knit to HTML first, and it asks you to save. I'm just going to quickly save this one to my desktop as sample. You'll see that it's running. And then you'll see what this is this is actually the R Markdown session that we just made. And then we can open it in browser. So you'll see here, this is what it would look like when it's knitted. And you'll see that we have all of the regular text that we had. We have the R code in these code blocks. And then we have the output here. And you can see, because I didn't delete stuff, you can include plots and different things like that. So I know this was a lot. This was meant to be just a brief intro. There's going to be additional videos covering things in more detail. So if you don't understand something right now, don't worry. But as always, please feel free to pause the video, go back, watch things that were unclear. And as always, please reach out. Thank you.